Chapter 21. Chinese Design Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She had signed up for the Chinese Design Competition a month ago. The competition was organized by the biggest luxury brand in country A known as SL Trend International Holdings. It was the most highly sought after fashion design competition in the country at the moment. Even getting the smallest award in the competition would grant the person to become the hotshot newbie designer in the fashion industry of country A. Precisely because of this, countless designers signed up for this competition every year. The elimination rate of the preliminary round was 95%. On the other hand, Luo Chenxi was a year 4 student in the Department of Art Design who was about to graduate. It was truly a rare opportunity for someone like her to pass the preliminary round successfully. That's awesome. If I can get an award in the Chinese style competition, I'll receive a grant of $1 million. I'll be able to afford mommy's medical expenses even if the Luo family decides to play some tricks on me again. Perhaps, I can even stop putting up with an arrogant prick like Mu Yichen. Despite feeling rather joyous and surprised, she had some lingering fear as well. Luckily, I turned on my phone as soon as I woke up. Otherwise, it would be a bummer if I missed the meeting and got disqualified. Luo Chenxi took a glance at the time on the phone. The display showed that it was 7:30 a.m. It would take about 40 minutes for her to make her way to the headquarters of SL Holdings from where she was. She might even be able to grab a bite on the way. She stopped procrastinating and groomed herself as quickly as she could. Then, she put on some light makeup and picked up her handbag before she was about to leave the house. However, she was stopped by someone as soon as she went downstairs. "Miss, you're awake at last. Come and have your breakfast." Luo Chenxi turned around and took a glance upon hearing Tang Tang's excited voice. She could not help feeling stunned. All the members of the Mu family were seated around the table in the dining room on the first floor having their breakfast. Mu Yichen was already fully dressed in the early morning. He had a knife and fork in his hands and was enjoying his breakfast gracefully. He had an attractive classic skinny figure when he was dressed and would appear muscular when he was undressed. Right now, he was dressed in a formal suit and leather shoes. He exuded an elegant, majestic yet graceful quality. "Are you done looking?" Luo Chenxi blinked and her eyes met Mu Yichen's rather impatient gaze. She realized that she had been caught looking at him in awe again. Damned her problem of enjoying the sight of beautiful men. Why did her surrogate marriage partner Luo Anghua arranged have to be a gorgeous man like Mu Yichen? Was that not a move to force her into making a mistake? "You've seen enough. Come over here for breakfast now," Mu Yichen ordered coldly. He had such a charming look, but the way he spoke was so despicable. Luo Chenxi pursed her lips regretfully and shook her head to reject the offer. "I'm not going to have breakfast. I have some urgent matters to attend to, so I have to leave now." "What? You were out until midnight yesterday and you're going to leave the house again so early? Luo Chenxin, do you even bear in mind my warning to you last night?" Mu Yichen made taunting remarks as soon as he spoke. Luo Chenxi widened her eyes in astonishment. Doviko, did this man have dynamites for breakfast? He had such a bad temper so early in the day. She assumed that he would not be as bad as she had imagined after seeing how much he loved Tang Tang yesterday night. It seemed like she was right, he was still an arrogant prick. Mu Yichen did not expect that Luo Chenxin's impression of him would have dropped to the bottom of the valley once again. Naturally, after taking a cold shower for the entire night, he could not be in a good mood. The more he looked at the wicked woman's innocent expression, the more uncomfortable he felt. It was obviously her fault for being irresponsible, but why did she make him look like he was bullying her? "What are you still looking at? Why aren't you coming over for breakfast yet?" urged Mu Yichen once again. Luo Chenxi did not wish to pay attention to him at all. She turned around and was about to leave. Was he treating her like a puppy? He thought that he could summon her at any time and ask her to leave at will. However, it was at this very moment when the little dumpling's soft voice was heard once again. "Miss, Tang Tang wants to have breakfast with you." Luo Chenxi stopped walking. She lowered her voice and said, "Tang Tang, I can't make it for breakfast. Is it okay for me to accompany you to have breakfast tomorrow?" Daddy says that a good girl must have breakfast every day. Why are you allowed to not have breakfast, Mississippi? Tang Tang had a spoon in one hand and her other hand was tucked under her chin and she had a puzzled expression on her face. She was speechless. Mu Yichen scoffed coldly. "Luo Chenxin, don't you know what is leading by example? If you don't take breakfast, what kind of example are you showing Tang Tang? What if she were to copy you the next time?" Chapter 22. Eat, Mississippi. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Luo Chenxi was immediately embarrassed when she heard him mention the little dumpling's upbringing. It seemed like she had been constantly mutilating the youth of the country for the past 2 days. If this were to continue, she was afraid that she might bring Tang Tang down a bad path. Without any other choice, she could only walk toward the dining room. She still had an hour's time, so she should be able to make it in time if she were to finish her breakfast quickly. Other than Mu Yichen and Tang Tang, Mu Weiwei and Mu Yichen's younger brother Mu Yiling were seated around the dining table. All 4 of them were staring straight at Luo Chenxi. The disdain and hatred in Mu Weiwei's eyes could not be concealed while Mu Yiling appeared to be much more contemplative. He shared a similarity of about 60 to 70% similar to Mu Yichen's handsome face and he constantly had a playful smile on his face. Tang Tang was sandwiched in between Mu Yichen who was on the left and Mu Weiwei was on the right. Luo Chenxi walked closer, but she had no idea where she should sit. Just as she was hesitating, Mu Yichen had already shifted his seat to the left and made way for her. She could not help feeling stunned for a moment. Mu Yichen said, "What? Do you need to be pleaded and begged repeatedly to have breakfast? Why are you standing there like a fool?" Luo Chenxi clenched her teeth in rage. She wished that she could bite this man to death. Would it kill him just to speak nicely? "Who's the fool, huh? I'll sit then." Fuming, she took a seat on the chair Mu Yichen had vacated earlier. On the other side, Mu Weiwei's eyes widened in surprise. Even though the Mu family did not have as many rules as the other powerful families and they behaved casually on usual days, the main seat of the table should not be hers. It was considered a compliment to her to even invite her for breakfast at the dining table. Luo Chenxi had just taken her seat when the little dumpling hugged her. "Miss, this cake is very yummy. I love it. You can have it." A slice of buttercream cake was pushed to the front of Luo Chenxi. The cake was decorated with cherries and strawberries, and it looked scrumptious. "Tang Tang, you can have it," Luo Chenxi said in a hurry. Upon saying that, an exquisite-looking steamed crystal dumpling was placed in her bowl. "Miss, have a dumpling." Soon afterward. "Miss, have a soup dumpling. Miss, have some meat." "Miss." In a short while, Luo Chenxi's bowl was filled with all sorts of delicious food. The food was piled up into a small mountain in her bowl. Luo Chenxi watched helplessly as Tang Tang was about to place more food into her bowl. She hastily stopped her. "That's enough, Tang Tang. It's too much. I can't finish it. Save some for yourself." The little dumpling pursed her lips reluctantly. Luo Chenxi picked up the chopsticks and brought a steamed crystal dumpling into her mouth. "Look, I'm already eating." The little dumpling appeared to be slightly pleased. On the other hand, Mu Weiwei sitting by Tang Tang's other side was already dumbstruck with bewilderment upon watching the scene. Their little princess had always been a peckish girl. She was not only a foodie, but she also guarded her food like a hawk. Even Mu Yichen was not allowed to take food from her bowl. However, she was actually repeatedly bringing food to the wicked woman. She even gave her her favorite strawberry cake. Tang Tang did not even treat her aunt, Mu Weiwei, so generously. Mu Weiwei could not bear to see that anymore. She could not refrain from scoffing aloud and said, "Someone was born with hands and legs, but why isn't she eating by herself? Isn't it shameful to fight for a child's food?" Luo Chenxi raised her head and took a glance at Mu Weiwei upon hearing her words. She did not reply and continued to lower her head to eat. She could tell that Mu Weiwei loathed her very much. The woman had spared no effort to display her enmity towards Luo Chenxi since yesterday. However, Luo Chenxi did not mind because Mu Weiwei hated Luo Chenxin, and not her anyhow. Still, Mu Weiwei became even more infuriated upon seeing Luo Chenxi's cool appearance. She slapped the table once and glared at Luo Chenxi ferociously. "Hey, I'm speaking to you. Why are you being such a prick by ignoring me? Serves you right that you come from a poor family. You have such a poor upbringing. Do you really think that you're the young mistress of the Mu family now? Why don't you take a look at yourself in the mirror? Don't you try to coax Tang Tang. We know your true colors very well, so stop pretending." Luo Chenxi frowned upon hearing the remarks. She had already yielded, yet Mu Weiwei still refused to let things be. Well, Luo Chenxi was not a piteous doormat either. "How am I pretending? How dare you say that I have a poor upbringing? I'd like to ask if pointing fingers at your sister in law at the dining table so early in the morning is the upbringing of the first powerful family in City T." Chapter 23. I'm the young mistress of the Mu family through a legal marriage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luo Chenxi spoke at an appropriate speed and her tone was not high-pitched either. However, it was precisely her calm and composed attitude that formed a bright contrast to Mu Weiwei's exasperation. There was no need for words to determine whose upbringing was better. "Why that you're shameless?" Mu Weiwei was burning with rage. "I'll never acknowledge you as my sister in law. My brother married you because he had no other choice, you cunning fox. You're going to get a divorce sooner or later. It's best for you to know your place in this family." "My place?" Luo Chenxi was already almost done having breakfast, so she placed the chopsticks down and said, "My place is that I'm the young mistress of the Mu family through a legal marriage. The marriage certificate is still in my room. Your refusal to acknowledge me is futile. Also, Tang Tang is still here. Please mind your words when you're speaking, Mississippi Mu. Otherwise, it'd a bad influence on the princess, wouldn't it?" Upon listening to her words, Mu Weiwei was speechless. When she was reminded that Tang Tang was still by her side, she hastily lowered her head to look toward the little dumpling. Tang Tang's brows were tightly knitted and her little face was furrowed akin to a steamed bun. She immediately raised her little chin when she saw Mu Weiwei looking at her. She said aloud, "Aunt Bully's Mississippi aunt is a bad person. Tang Tang doesn't like aunt anymore." Her words were akin to 10,000 sharp arrows that pierced Mu Weiwei's chest. She placed her hand over her heart. "Tang Tang, how could you take the wicked woman's side?" The little dumpling's reaction was straightforward. She glared at Mu Weiwei furiously before she turned around and threw herself into Luo Chenxi's arms, refusing to look at her aunt anymore. "Luo Chenxin. Let go of Tang Tang." Mu Weiwei still wanted to speak. "Mu Weiwei." Mu Yichen's deep voice was heard abruptly. "It's true that you should mind your words. Listen to yourself. Is this how a lady from a powerful family speaks? What have you learned from school? Is this how you usually speak to Tang Tang?" Luo Chenxi's words reminded Mu Yichen of the little dumpling's sex talk last night. It was time to teach the girl a lesson. Otherwise, she would lead Tang Tang down a corrupt path if this continued. "You're grounded for a month from tomorrow onward. Stay at home and do your revision after school. You aren't allowed to go out anymore." "Brother." Mu Weiwei glared at Luo Chenxi. She was infuriated. It was obviously the cunning fox's fault for being shameless. Why did her brother choose to punish her instead? Could he actually have been bewitched by the cunning fox? Luo Chenxi glared back at her. The corners of her lips curled into a vague, sly smile. Her accusation of Mu Weiwei of setting a bad example to Tang Tang was not coincidental. She intentionally wanted to remind Mu Yichen about the incident from yesterday night. Just as expected, Mu Yichen had a drastic change of expression at once. Meanwhile, Luo Chenxi's gaze swept across to see the clock on the wall. Startled, she stood up in a haste. The meal had taken more than half an hour without her noticing it. She was going to be late. I'm running out of time. I'm leaving. Tang Tang, thank you for your generous treat. I'll be back to accompany you tonight. Mwax. Luo Chenxi hastily gave Tang Tang's little cheek a peck before she placed the girl on the chair and was about to leave. However, she had just stood up when her wrist was grabbed by a strong, huge palm. Where are you going? She heard the man's deep, sexy voice. Luo Chenxi's ears went numb and her face was blushing pink. She wanted to pull her hand away from Mu Yichen's grasp, but she did not manage to do so after giving it a few tugs. She could only say, Mu Yichen, please let go of me. I really have some important matters to attend to. It's already too late for me to leave now. I'm going to be late for sure. Luo Chenxi took a glance at the clock once again restlessly. Chapter 24. Is life going to give a single dog like me something to live on? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Given such a great opportunity for her to pass through the preliminary round of the Chinese design competition, it would be agonizing if she were to miss the event just like that. It was only over 20 minutes until the start of the event. Even if she were to manage to get a taxi as soon as she left the house, she would most probably be late. However, if she was only late by a few minutes, perhaps the organizer could make an exception for her. However, Mu Yichen's huge hand was firm and strong. He grasped her wrist firmly without the slightest intention to loosen his grip. He emphasized his words and asked once again, where are you actually going? Luo Chenxi was so anxious that she was flushing scarlet. Mu Chenxi. I don't have time for this. I have some proper business to attend to. Please let go of me quickly. Before her voice faded away, the man by her side stood up. With his huge hand still holding her wrist, he exerted his strength and tugged her along as he made his way to the door. Hey, what are you doing? Let go of me quickly. I thought you said that you were in a rush and that you're running out of time. I'll give you a ride. Mu Yichen stopped walking for a moment and turned around to look at her. Luo Chenxi looked up in astonishment just in time to meet his eyes that were deep and dark as ink. His gaze was so deep that it was bottomless, but his expression was cold and apathetic. There was utterly no way that she could tell what was on his mind. Just as she was caught in her daze, Mu Yichen had already picked up the car keys on the side table and tugged her along as they left the house. The two girls at the dining table widened their mouths in surprise and watched their departing silhouettes in a daze. Daddy, Miss, Tang Tang wants to go too. The little dumpling pouted her lips piteously. What a waste that her soft voice was destined not to be heard by Mu Yichen and Luo Chenxi. Mu Yiling, who had witnessed the entire event unfold but did not speak at all, suddenly raised his arms and stretched his body lazily. Ouch, this life is too hard on me. I'm just having breakfast at home, but I'm forced to chow down a tummy full of dog food. Oh, times are hard that is life going to give a single dog like me something to live on. As he was speaking, he stood up. Weiwei, I'll give you a ride to school. Mu Weiwei had yet to cool down from her pent-up anger. She stamped her foot in a rage after seeing her brother's cynical reaction to the situation. Brother. Why you didn't you see how that woman bullied me? How could you be so calm? Also, Big Brother and Tang Tang have actually been bewitched by that woman. What should we do? I wonder what sort of drug has the cunning fox given to him. Has he forgotten about how she hurt Tang Tang in the past? How could he side with that woman to scold me together? Mu Yiling turned his head around and smiled slyly. Not that I'm criticizing you, but you should really mind your words, Wei Wei. Otherwise, who'd have the courage to marry you in the future? Brother, whose side are you on anyway? Mu Weiwei remarked angrily. Mu Yiling shrugged. Our big brother, the 1000-year-old virgin, actually knows how to tempt a woman with his words. Don't you think that's fun? Tempt a woman. Which woman is he tempting? You can't be referring to Luo Qinxin, can you? Could it be that our big brother has truly dot for that woman? Brother, how could you still laugh at that? She glared at her unreliable second brother and almost fainted from rage. How could her entire family be bewitched by that wicked woman, Luo Qinxin? She was the only clear-minded person around. No, this can't continue anymore, that she must figure out a way to drive that woman out of the family. Mu Yichen pulled Luo Chenxi to the front of an Aston Martin before he loosened his grip on her wrist. Get into the car. She sat in the passenger seat and turned her head cautiously to look at the man on her left. Mu Yichen, thank. What's the address? Mu Yichen's expression revealed his impatience before she could even finish saying, thank you. Chapter 25. How could one not bow down to the circumstances when one was in a sports car? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luo Chenxi hastily read out the address listed in the text message. Mu Yichen frowned ever so slightly. That's the address of SL Holdings headquarters. Why are you going there? I'm going for an audition for the Chinese design competition. I bet you haven't heard of this competition, have you? I know what it is, Mu Yichen interrupted her. However, how can a person like you that bought your way to a degree in country F pass the preliminary round of the Chinese design competition? The competition committee is so reckless. Hey, what do you mean by that? Who did you say bought her way to a degree in country F? He despised her, and now he even looked down upon her professionalism. Luo Chenxi was furious. She was just about to refute subconsciously when she suddenly recalled her current identity. It was true that Luo Qinxin had bought her way to a degree in country F. She hastily modified her previous remark by saying, cough, cough. I learned a lot in France too. You can't look down upon everybody else like a snob. Who are you calling a snob again? Do you believe that I'll kick you out of the car now? Mu Yichen scoffed coldly. Luo Chenxi was instantly terrified. No. I'm wrong and you are right. You're always right. We are now driving on an elevated road. You can't break the law by stopping the car. Besides, it's illegal to throw something from a high level. Don't act so impulsively. How could one not bow down to the circumstances when one was in a sports car? If Mu Yichen were to kick her out from the car now, she would truly be heartbroken. The corners of Mu Yichen's lips twitched, but he did not speak anymore. Luo Chenxi was afraid that she might say something wrong again, so she made the smart choice of remaining silent as well. The sports car drove swiftly all the way and arrived at the headquarters of SL Holdings in 20 minutes. It was 3 minutes until the registration closed. She had actually made it in time. Overjoyed, Luo Chenxi opened the door eagerly and was about to get down from the car. One of her legs stepped onto the ground outside when she suddenly remembered something. She turned her head around in a rush and said, Young Master Mu, thank you very much for this. You're awesome. I shall treat you to a meal when I'm free. Her sweet smile made her look like a kitten seeking affection. Mu Yichen leaned against the back of his seat and lit up a cigarette as he watched Luo Chenxi through squinted eyes. She wore a pair of kitten heels and had a portfolio in her arms as she walked into the SL Holdings building with quick strides. Her delicate, exquisite small face appeared to be so pure and innocent. Who would have imagined that she was actually a woman with deep, dark schemes up her sleeve? Luo Qinxin, are you really putting on an act? How long are you going to keep this up? Luo Chenxi trotted all the way and finally made it to the meeting room in the final minute before 9. There were already over 20 participants waiting inside. She registered her attendance before she found a seat and sat casually. Meanwhile, an exaggerated sneer was heard coming from her back. I thought that I got the wrong person. Luo Chenxi, it's really you. Why are you here? Luo Chenxi turned around to take a look just in time to see a silhouette that looked rather familiar. It was Sui Shaoqing, a schoolmate from her high school. Back then, they had both been elite students from the Academy of Fine Arts in the provincial city. However, Luo Chenxi was always the top student. Despite exhausting all her efforts, Sui Shaoqing still ended up as second in the end. Because of that, Sui Shaoqing was always standing in sharp opposition to Luo Chenxi. Luo Chenxi had been awarded a full scholarship by a well-known arts academy in her junior year. As a result, she had gone abroad to study and finally broke free from her rival's harassment. Now, to her annoyance, they met each other again on such an occasion. Luo Chenxi frowned and nodded to humor her. That's right. What a coincidence. You're not here because you're taking part in the Chinese-style competition, are you? Sui Shaoqing sneered, what's going on? I thought that the Chinese-style competition is the most prestigious design competition in country A. How can a low-class university graduate like you take part in it? The meeting room was originally quiet, but Sui Shaoqing's voice was loud, so everyone around them glanced over out of curiosity after hearing her voice. Sui Shaoqing became even more exhilarated when she noticed their attention. She said in an even louder voice, which one of the participants today isn't a graduate from a well-known university, either local or abroad? Look at you. You're a student from a useless Tier 3 university. What right do you have to stand here? What? She's actually a graduate from a Tier 3 university. It's utterly impossible to learn about real design in that kind of university. I bet the graduates can't get a job after graduation, can they? You don't say. It's simply an insult to us to be competing against this kind of person. Chapter 26. Short-legged frog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You can tell just by looking at her outfit. As a designer, she dresses so poorly. How can she design anything that looks good? I wonder what the judging panel was thinking. Many people were looking at Luo Chenxi with a strange gaze due to Sui Shaoqing's provocative remarks. They began discussing amongst themselves. Luo Chenxi lowered her head to look down at her outfit. She had just moved into the Mu family yesterday, so she did not even have the time to pack her luggage. She realized that she was still wearing yesterday's outfit because she had run out of time that morning. In addition, she was not a wealthy person. As a result, not a single piece of her clothing was branded. They were all bargain goods. At the very least, she did match her outfit meticulously. She was clean and tidy, and her outfit accentuated the strong points of her figure perfectly. How could they call her poorly dressed? Luo Chenxi was rendered speechless. She could not be bothered to pay attention to these people. However, Sui Shaoqing took a quick stride and stopped her in her path before continuing to pester her. Luo Chenxi, if I were you, I wouldn't come here to embarrass myself today. Do you think that you're still the design genius back in high school? Stop dreaming. You're already crippled after studying in that trash university for 4 years. You're no longer worthy to compete against Ivy League graduates like me. If you're truly in need of money, why don't I introduce you to a job in a Taobao shop? You can design some sketches for them and they'll even pay you $20 apiece. Luo Chenxi had not only been an elite student in high school, but she was also pure and beautiful. She had been the prettiest girl in the school and was the goddess of many male students. In the end, she had even been accepted into the Royal Academy of Art in Country Y, which was reputed to be the Holy Grail of art. It had made Zhuo Xiaoqing so jealous that she could not sleep for many nights. Now that Luo Chenxi was unkempt and troubled, it was great. She was not only expelled by the Royal Academy of Art in Country Y and could only return to her home country to study in a low-class university, but she also could not even afford a decent branded outfit. It was finally Zhuo Xiaoqing's turn to show off and flaunt her prowess. Upon hearing her words, Luo Chenxi finally turned her head around and sized her up. Flattered, Zhuo Xiaoqing shifted her standing angle intentionally in order to let Luo Chenxi look at her branded outfit clearly. Luo Chenxi's lips curled up ever so slightly. Zhuo Xiaoqing, I suppose your dress is from SL's new spring collection, isn't it? SL's design this year utilizes the contrast of black and white and neat lines to bring out one simple elegance and lead the fashion trend in our country this year. Zhuo Xiaoqing was even more flattered by her words. It seems like you have rather good foresight. What a waste that you can never afford this in your lifetime. Luo Chenxi had an extremely sympathetic expression on her face as she heaved a sigh. Even though the outfit looks great, the waistline is too low. A tall person in this dress would look very elegant, but on a person with short legs, this is a tragedy. Matched with a pair of mid-top leather boots, it would even separate one's already short legs into 3 portions and make the person look no different from a frog. Upon listening to her comment, Zhuo Xiaoqing's expression froze. She lowered her head and looked down at her pair of mid-top leather boots on her feet, her temper rising at once. Luo Chenxi, how dare you call my legs short? How could you even call me a frog? You're seeking doom. She turned red with rage as she charged forward and was about to hit Luo Chenxi. Luo Chenxi had a startled expression and said in all apparent innocence, calm down. Please calm down. I was only saying that this outfit is difficult to match. This is something that every designer should know, isn't it? Don't assume that I was talking about you. Chapter 27. It was simply the scene of a car crash. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Many people around them could not refrain from chuckling in secret. She's right. That dress is bound to make a short person's legs look shorter, and that woman even matched with that kind of boots. I wonder what's on her mind. I guess she hasn't realized that her legs are short, huh? That's impossible. Doesn't she know in her heart how she looks? It's a compliment to her to say that she looks like a frog. Actually, her legs aren't just short but they are thick as well. She looks just like a toad. How can a person like her become a fashion designer when her outfit is so poorly matched? Zhuo Xiaoqing was trembling in rage upon hearing the sarcastic remarks. Luo Chenxi had obviously pointed out her short legs in her comment earlier. Moreover, any other fashion designer would know that she was mocking Zhuo Xiaoqing's poor professionalism. Could Zhuo Xiaoqing be unaware of such common sense? However, Luo Chenxi did not point out the person's name in her comment. If Zhuo Xiaoqing were to come forward and hit her, then she would be assuming that Luo Chenxi was talking about her. Zhuo Xiaoqing thought about how she had spent a fortune to buy an entire set of SL's newest spring collection in order to flatter the executive officers of SL Holdings. Now, besides her money being wasted for no purpose, her action outsmarted herself and turned her into a frog. If the judging panel of the competition could see her outfit now, they would certainly regard her lack of professionalism. Zhuo Xiaoqing had nowhere to ventilate her pent-up anger, so she straightaway delivered a kick toward Luo Chenxi's chair in an attempt to kick the chair over and caused her rival to fall over. Fortunately, Luo Chenxi was a Taekwondo black belt holder. Swiftly, she jumped up with agile movements as soon as she saw Zhuo Xiaoqing move. Zhuo Xiaoqing, you should watch your step. I wonder if ruining the chairs in SL Holdings will affect the result of the competition. As soon as she stood up, everyone's eyes lit up. Luo Chenxi was 175 centimeters tall and was a whole head taller than Zhuo Xiaoqing. Her pair of long legs were slim and straight. The proportion of her figure was so perfect that she was no less inferior when compared to the hottest supermodel in the world. Standing by her side, Sui Shaoqing appeared to be even shorter with a thick waist and short legs. Both of them actually looked like a combination of a swan and toad. The contrast was too obvious. The situation was more than just awkward. It was clearly the scene of a car crash. Sui Shaoqing had embarrassed herself immensely, so she could no longer care about anything else. The only thought on her mind was to beat up Luo Chenxi. Meanwhile, the door to the meeting room opened suddenly. What's happening? What's with the clamor? The participants quietened down as soon as the SL staff appeared. It seems like all of you are already prepared. Now, those people whose names are called will follow me to the next room for the audition. The rest of the people shall stay here and wait. Please remain quiet. As he was speaking, he called out the name of a designer and brought the person out. After the departure of the staff, Sui Shaoqing finally remembered her purpose of going there today. She glared at Luo Chenxi ferociously before she returned to her seat. The audition went much faster than the participants could imagine. The designer that was first called for the audition returned after a few minutes with a dejected look on her face. The few people that came back later on had similar expressions. Number 12, Xing Chen. Please follow me. Luo Chenxi carried the portfolio and followed the staff into the meeting room next door. A few tables were placed in the front of the meeting room with 7 to 8 judges seated behind the tables. A few of them were head designers at SL. A middle-aged man with a small mustache picked up Luo Chenxi's information and screened through it. He frowned at once. You graduated from, this Haiqing School of Fine Arts. What kind of university is that? How come I've never heard of it before? Chapter 28. You're young but you're quite a big talker. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Luo Chenxi said in a neither haughty nor humble manner, it doesn't matter which university I graduated from. My work is more important. Upon listening to her reply, the few judges appeared to be rather astonished. They gazed into one another's eyes for a moment. The man with the small mustache said, You're young, but you're quite a big talker. I'd like to see what kind of impressive work you have that makes you so confident of yourself. He procured the portfolio Luo Chenxi brought. With a nonchalant smile on his face, he opened a page casually and could not help feeling slightly stunned. He appeared to be rather astonished to see the work. This is. He immediately flipped over to the second page. His eyes widened in surprise. He stared at the portfolio in his hand for a long while. However, it was as if he had gone mad. He eagerly flipped over to the third page, the fourth page, and so on. Soon, he finished flipping through the portfolio that consisted of over 20 pages. The rest of the judging panel was surprised by his reaction. They inquired closely one after another, Andy, what's going on? How is Miss Xing Chen's design? Why don't you explain it to all of us quickly? However, the man with the small mustache was oblivious to their questions as his attention was fully absorbed by her work. After the first round of reading, he flipped the portfolio to the first page and began to read it from the start once again. This time, he was reading with closer attention than before. As he went through it, he was shaking his head in awe. The design of this is truly genius. How did she come up with this design? This is the artwork of a master. That's unexpected. That's really unexpected. The rest of the judges began to have an itching heart after hearing the man with the small mustache muttering. They refrained from interrupting for a short while before they gathered around him at last. What sort of design is that actually? Show us. Everyone here is a judge of this competition. Why are you holding on to the portfolio and refusing to share it with us? The man with the small mustache grabbed the portfolio with great effort and refused to let go. However, he lost to the numerous judges around him at last and the portfolio was seized away. The rest of the judges formed a circle to look at Luo Chenxi's portfolio together. Frankly, they assumed that their fellow judges' reaction was exaggerated. After all, they were the designers of the top fashion brand of the country. How could they not have seen some impressive designs in their lives? Why did they have to behave like inexperienced hotheads that got excited over some trifle genius's creativity? However, they were on the edge of their seats soon after they opened the portfolio and studied a few design sketches meticulously. Andy wasn't actually exaggerating. It has already been years since I've seen such a genius designer. Is this really the design of that young girl? She looks like she has just graduated recently though. This can't be. We must take this portfolio and show it to Chief Xing personally. A designer with blonde hair picked up Luo Chenxi's portfolio before turning around and walking out of the meeting room. Luo Chenxi was feeling rather proud of herself after seeing her portfolio so highly sought after. However, she was stunned at once when she saw that her portfolio was about to be taken away. Wait, where are you taking my portfolio? The man with the small mustache leaned on the table and said weakly, Miss Xing Chen, don't worry. He's only taking your portfolio to show to Chief Xing. Chief Xing? Who's Chief Xing? How many Chief Xings are there in our SL Holdings? It's our chief designer, Xing Yu of SL Holdings, of course. It was Xing Yu. Luo Chenxi was stunned upon hearing the name. Xing Yu was the most honored and reputable designer now. Any design of his would result in a hunt by the men and women in the country. An haute couture dress that he personally designed could be sold for millions. Was the blonde going to show her portfolio to Xing Yu? Chapter 29. Where did the fly come from? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Even though Luo Chenxi was very confident about her work, she did not expect her work to be worthy enough to alert an important expert of the profession like Xing Yu. After the blonde-haired man left, a few designers surrounded Luo Chenxi and asked her some questions. In the end, the man with the small mustache said, Miss Xing Chen, will still need to continue the audition for the rest of the participants. Will you please head to the next room and wait for a while? Chief Xing will be back in about an hour. So, did I pass the audition? Passed, of course, you've passed. He nodded repeatedly. He considered for a moment before he reminded her by saying, next, you have a month to prepare. You're going to transform your designs into ready-to-wear garments. You must make the best use of the time and perform well. I'm putting high hopes on you. Luo Chenxi thanked the man before she returned to the meeting room next door. The participants were called into the audition one by one. The process lasted for an entire morning. Most people appeared miserable when they came back from the audition. One could make a guess of the audition results based on their expressions. Sua Xiaoqing was beaming with joy when she returned to the meeting room. The only thing missing from her face was the words, I passed the audition. She could not help sniggering aloud when she saw Luo Chenxi sitting quietly in the corner without making a sound. I thought you were very talkative earlier. Why aren't you talking now? I bet you know how poor your level of professionalism is, don't you? The Chinese style competition is a contest of designers' expertise and not appearance. Some people are too confident of themselves. Luo Chenxi swept her gaze over Sua Xiaoqing. Where did the fly come from? Why is it buzzing about noisily all the time? Who did you just call a fly? Sua Xiaoqing demanded in rage. All of a sudden, the door of the meeting room was pushed open once again. The designer with the small mustache walked over and swept his gaze over the crowd once. The audition for the first batch of participants has already ended. I'm going to announce the results on behalf of the organizing committee. Upon hearing that, everyone perked up. They sat upright and looked at him in anticipation. Number 1, Chu Heng. Number 3, Number 7, Number 12, Xing Chen, Number 16, Number 20, Sua Xiaoqing. The 6 aforementioned participants have qualified for the semi-finals of the competition. You'll need to prepare many things for the semi-finals. Every participant is to produce a series of ready-to-wear garments and accessories. Afterward, you'll be contacted by our staff. Please head back and get ready. The man then turned around and was prepared to leave when he was done with the announcement. Sua Xiaoqing was on the edge of her seat after hearing the audition results. She stood up with an astonished expression and called out to the man, "Wait, Teacher Andy. Please hold on. Is there any part of the announcement that you've mistaken?" Even though many designers were fond of using monikers and not their real names, just like how Luo Chenxi did not use her real name for registration, Sua Xiaoqing had seen the number listed on Luo Chenxi's portfolio earlier and knew that her number was number 12. Luo Chenxi had actually passed the audition as well. That was utterly impossible. The audition was different from the preliminary round. During the preliminary screening, every participant would only need to provide 5 design sketches. It was genuinely possible for Luo Chenxi to pass the preliminary round by luck with her art foundation from high school. However, every participant was required to bring along an entire portfolio during the audition. The content of the portfolio should not just contain design sketches but also the design idea for the entire fashion series, the structure of every piece of garment, fabric, material quality, pattern, and so on. The world of fashion design was not based upon one's creativity as imagined by the layman. The art of making a garment was completely different from just drawing a few sketches. Many laymen could draw design sketches that looked genuinely beautiful. However, when the design was produced as a ready-to-wear garment, it was utterly incapable of achieving the same effect as the sketch. That would end up as a failed design. The process involved lots of professional knowledge and flow paths that could only be learned in the reputable academies of fine arts. It was utterly impossible for Luo Chenxi to learn about these from her low-class university. Chapter 30. Surely involved with something scandalous. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What questions do you still have? Asked the man with the small mustache named Andy. Sua Xiaoqing pointed to Luo Chenxi and said aloud, "Is there a mistake in the audition results? I'm acquainted with participant number 12. She's a graduate from a Tier 3 university. She doesn't have the slightest idea about fashion design, so how can a person like her possibly pass the audition?" Andy could not help being stunned for a moment when he realized that Sua Xiaoqing was pointing at Luo Chenxi. He did not expect that the person she was complaining about would actually be participant number 12, whose work was the most astonishing out of all. He swept his gaze across her. "Miss Sua, are you doubting the foresight of our SL Holdings designers? In reality, participant number 12, Miss Xing Chen's work is the most outstanding out of all the participants in this contest." What? Upon listening to his comment, all the participants on the scene were surprised. No one expected Luo Chenxi to receive such a raving review despite her poor education background. Sua Xiaoqing's face was flushing scarlet. She recalled how she had still taunted Luo Chenxi earlier and claimed that she would never pass the audition. Andy's words were akin to a ferocious slap on her cheek. Participant number 12's work is the most outstanding. What does that mean? Could Luo Chenxi's work be even better than hers? Her portfolio had actually been amended by a reputable international designer through her commission. Sua Xiaoqing grew more recalcitrant the more she thought about it. "Teacher Andy, there must be something wrong with number 12's work. It is absolutely impossible that it's her own original work." Upon listening to her words, Andy frowned. "Miss Sua, are you saying that participant number 12 has used someone else's work as submission in the competition? Do you have any evidence? It would be a grievous matter if participant number 12's design sketches had not been drawn by herself. After all, it involved the reputation of the Chinese-style competition." Andy's expression turned solemn. Sua Xiaoqing was tongue-tied at once. Evidence? How could she have any evidence? She was only saying that because she could not stand seeing Luo Chenxi being accepted into the semi-finals. She had been impulsive. She choked on her words for a long while before she managed to come up with something. Her educational background is precisely the evidence. She graduated from a trash university, so how can she possibly produce a decent design? Luo Chenxi stepped forward as well. She walked to Zhuo Xiaoqing's side and said in a slow and steady manner, "Zhuo Xiaoqing, how is that considered evidence? How is one's design skills related to one's education? If that's the case, there's no need to organize the Chinese-style competition anymore. They might as well take out the participants' academic certificates and arrange them from top to bottom. What's the purpose of the competition then?" Andy found Zhuo Xiaoqing's accusation to be absurd as well. "This is completely out of your wild conjecture. It isn't considered evidence. Miss Zhuo, please mind your language and manners. It is an extremely appalling behavior to defame your fellow competitor. If this continues, I'm going to have to disqualify you." His comment sounded extremely serious. Zhuo Xiaoqing's expression alternated between being red with rage and pale with fear. She felt extremely wronged in her heart. She felt that she was right in every way. Luo Chenxi was obviously a good .4 nothing, so how could she have possibly produced work that was better than hers? Were the designers of SL Holdings blind? Andy lectured her for a short while before he turned around and was about to leave again. Zhuo Xiaoqing clenched her teeth, then she called out once again, "Please wait, Teacher Andy. I have evidence. I was participant number 12 schoolmate. I know that she was accepted into the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Country Y in the past. However, she was expelled by the academy afterward due to inappropriate behavior." "What? Is that true?" Andy widened his eyes in surprise. Noel Zhuo Xiaoqing recognized his interest, so she hastily continued to speak, "Teacher Andy, you are aware of this, aren't you? All the top academies of fine arts in this world set a high bar for entry requirements, but they don't expel students easily. Moreover, the incident happened due to inappropriate behavior. I bet participant number 12 was surely involved in something scandalous.